Hablo, hablo, America, America, muchacho, muchacho, camino, camino. How am I supposed to pronounce this, man? And on top of this, what are these marks? God, man. Hola. Hey, y'all. So, I understand you might be having a little trouble with accents, right? These accent marks. What are they good for? Except for tripping me up when I'm trying to pronounce this stuff. I'm here to explain that to you. Accents are where native speakers and non-native speakers have a common enemy usually. And that is because that is one thing that people typically struggle with. And I'm here to help with that. So, why an accent mark? That's the first thing I'll talk about. So, accent marks can do a couple things. They can change the pronunciation of a word. They can change the meaning of a word, but not necessarily the pronunciation. And that typically happens if you have a one-syllable word. Or they can do both. And that becomes really important when you're talking about saying I speak or he spoke. So just give me a minute, bear with me, and I'll make this worth the while. Now, there are two general rules you should know about accents and where they go. Well, let's call these stress syllables. In other words, where the strongest syllable sound would naturally go without an accent mark. The first one is if the word ends in a vowel or the letters N or S. If that's the case, then the stress syllable will lie on the next to last syllable of the word, such as hablo or muchacho. Now, if the word ends in a letter other than N, S, or vowel, the stress will lie on the very last syllable, such as arroz, leal, sociedad. So those are the two big rules about where a stress syllable would go. Now, if a word doesn't particularly follow those rules, then you may have an accent mark over a vowel, such as nación, lápiz, construcción, Álvarez, Pérez. So those are a few examples of when you would put an accent mark over a vowel. And that is if the word doesn't follow those two main rules about where the stress naturally goes. So an accent mark, for the most part, ends up where a stress doesn't naturally go. Now that's not always the case because accent marks sometimes have different functions than just changing the sound. Sometimes it may change the meaning of the word, and often it both changes the sound of the word and changes the meaning of the word, as you'll see in a sec. For me, where it becomes most apparent that an accent can both change the sound of a word and the meaning of a word is when you're doing verb conjugations, particularly when you're talking about changing certain tenses such as the present and the preterite. For example, in many regular AR verbs, the stress of a conjugated verb is typically on the next to last syllable. Unless, of course, it follows those two big rules that we talked about earlier. Let's take a verb like hablar, to speak. Okay, so hablar ends in an R. So it doesn't follow that first rule I talked about where the word ends in an N, an S, or a vowel. And therefore, the natural stress in hablar is on the last syllable. But let's conjugate hablar to say I speak. Hablo. Now hablo, the natural stress there is on the next to last syllable because hablo ends in a vowel, O. Now, let's talk about saying he spoke, and therefore I'm going to use the preterite form of the third person singular. Habló. Did you notice a slight difference in sound there? I emphasize the O there, and in spelling that O would have an accent mark over it. And the meaning of the word is also changed. When I say hablo, I mean I speak. When I say habló, that means he or she spoke, or you spoke if you're using usted. So that's a case in which both the pronunciation of the word is changed because of an accent mark and because of a different stress between the two conjugations, and also the meaning. Now, there are a boatload of words, usually one syllable words, where in writing you may or may not have an accent mark, and whether you have this accent mark or not certainly changes the meaning of that word. Such as tú. If tú had an accent, it would mean you. Tú without it means your. Me with the accent means me as a sort of a pronoun. And then there's me without that accent mark, which means my. Aún with an accent means still, yet. Without that accent mark, it means even. El with an accent mark means he. El without it means the. Okay. So, those are a couple of examples. What else can I think of? Yeah. Say with an accent mark means I know, whereas say without it means usually himself, herself, themselves, yourselves. Say without an accent mark is used as a reflexive pronoun to reflect an action being done on oneself. So those are a few, and I have another interesting one for you. Té. Té with an accent mark means tea, as in the beverage. Té without it means yourself. It can also be the direct or indirect object pronoun for you. There are a couple more, but those are the ones I thought right off the top. So accent marks are really important for that reason. They can change where you stress a syllable. So definitely the sound and pronunciation of a word. They also very likely change the meaning of the word. So remember that piece of information. Hope this helps you out. And don't keep your shirt on, man. Keep your shirt on. It'll be okay. I know accents can drive you crazy sometimes, especially when you're dealing with a teacher who demands those accents. So this video is made to help that. So, de todas formas, chicos, nos vemos más luego y que vaya muy bien.